So we do have some breaking news coming from a very reliable leaker when it comes to next-gen hardware. This is an individual by the name of Kepler L2. Kepler actually has a track record that's like pretty reliable for accurately leaking technical specifications and stuff for hardware that has yet to be revealed and yet to launch. So in the past, he's been able to call out specific things about like, this hardware will have this chipset, it'll have this much memory, it is coming from these manufacturers. He probably is somewhere along the supply chain, and that's how he has knowledge of these things. But the point is, this is not just some crazy person on 4chan. It is somebody with an actual track record that knows what he's talking about. He's active on several different forums, such as Reset Era, but he just made a reference in response to Devon Explorer when he described how the bill of materials for the upcoming PlayStation 6 has gone up significantly. What he previously said was that as you can see, in March of 2026, he estimated that the bill of materials for the PlayStation 6 was approximately $760. That's just to manufacture it, okay? There's other things you got to consider, which are significant, as other people have pointed out. As you can see, this does not include facility overhead, R&D to actually develop the console and put it together, like design it basically, labor, marketing the console, sales, support, business-to-business logistics, such as from warehouse to retailer, etc., etc. This cost that we're describing as $760 back in March excluded that. That's just the components to put it together, okay? Not even paying the people to put it together. That is just the components as components, okay? However, he has come out since then and clarified bill of materials went up by roughly $200 since I made that post, which takes the bill of materials now to make what's expected to be the PlayStation 6. It's taken that bill of materials up to $960 US, not inclusive of those other things like marketing, like R&D write-offs, like actually shipping it to distributors and people all around the world. It doesn't account for any of that. That isn't the end of it. As Insider Gaming says, as many analysts in the tech industry warn that RAM and SSD prices are yet to soar with no end in sight, thanks to AI. That means that the bill of materials for the PlayStation 6 could continue to rise, putting it well past the $1,000 mark. To be clear, Asha Sharma said they expect a further doubling of their cost of materials by fall of 2027. So they're expecting that RAM prices and storage prices will double again by this time, or later. I mean, certainly by this time in 2 years, but within the next like year and a half, they will double again, which means that the bill of materials, of which maybe like $300 of this, $350 is those like high sensitivity things like RAM and storage cost. Those could double again, taking the bill of materials alone past $1,000. Now, in the past, the way that Sony has dealt with things like this is by coming in and saying, well, we'll sell it at a loss, right? We'll sell the console that cost us, let's say, $340. We'll sell it for $299. We'll eat that $40 and we will sell it to you at a loss, but we're going to make that money back on software sales and accessories and stuff. We'll call it good. Well, remember I said there's no good way to spin this? Somebody at a recent event asked Sony executives what their plan is, and Sony clarified that they do not plan to sell, quote, sell hardware at significant losses, but it's monitoring the market. That's good. What this was specifically was during a Q&A session held at a recent meeting based around the company's game and network services division. One attendee asked Sony executives to provide an update on their current thinking regarding hardware pricing and profitability, specifically referring to the next generation platform, PlayStation 6. The attendee asked the execs whether it was, quote, reasonable to assume that your pricing will continue to prioritize profitability of the hardware as it does today. In other words, are you going to continue trying to sell the PlayStation 6 with a profit margin, or are you willing to sell it at a loss to get it in people's hands? The official answer given by Sony's transcript from the Q&A noted that it considers its hardware to be one of the most important parts of the gaming experience and that it wants to make sure users recognize the value offered by its hardware. Whenever an executive says, we want you to recognize the value in the thing you're buying, that just says we're going to charge you a lot for it because it's expensive and you're going to like it because you're going to appreciate the value. Like, what? We want you to appreciate the value. Shut up. It also stated that the company doesn't plan to sell hardware at a loss as a matter of principle, but that it's currently monitoring the market situation. What they said was, quote, first, we regard hardware as the base for providing the gaming experience. And by offering products such as the PlayStation Portal Remote Player, PS Portal, we aim to provide experiences tailored to users' playstyles beyond the living room, which has traditionally been considered the primary usage environment. As for pricing, it is not realistic for us to absorb all component cost increases, and we have already implemented some price increases outside Japan. At present, however, sales are proceeding as planned, and we do not believe this has led to a decline in customer demand. In other words, as we've raised prices, people are still buying it enough that we don't see any crisis present. This is why I've said it's really important that Xbox is healthy so that they actually put some fire under PlayStation's butt and like force them to be competitive. Because right now, the whole point is PlayStation doesn't really have much of a competition at play really at all. Like as Xbox is imploding continually, even as like they have a good showcase and then they fire pretty much everybody, like it's just, there's no real competition. So Sony doesn't feel the need to push that hard. As a principle, quote, we do not intend to sell hardware at significant losses. At the same time, we are carefully monitoring the market and continue to evaluate our approach. We believe it is important for us to make every effort to ensure that customers fully understand the value we provide in relation to pricing. What the hell does that even mean? I cannot stand that stuff. I cannot stand that stuff when they're like, yes, it's expensive because we're trying to remind people of the value we offer. Shut up. Like, what are you talking? It's just, I can't stand it. It's just, I can't stand it. There's something so gross about it. Being like, it's expensive. Yeah, because you need to appreciate the value. Okay, whatever. Anyway, the point of all of this is that as of today, according to Kepler, who has previously demonstrated a pretty reliable track record, the bill of materials alone is $960. Some people that are way more savvy in supply chains than me have estimated that this means if it were shipping like today, they probably would need to charge $1,100 to break even, possibly even $1,200 to break even. And that's assuming that they cut corners with like lower marketing costs, that they bundle the R&D budget into Sony's parent company R&D budget instead of tying it directly to this product, things like that. This means, as Insider Gaming though points out, this means that by the time the PlayStation 6 actually launches though, because it's not launching tomorrow, it launches next year, late next year. That's the current plan at least. Next generation consoles, at least where the PlayStation 6 is concerned, could cost $1,400 to $1,500 to produce by the time you get there. Because again, if you say that $300 of the 960 is gonna double by next fall when they're actually launching it, that takes the bill of materials to like $1,300, and then like assembly, distribution, everything starts to get it up towards like $1,400-$1,500. Now let's be totally honest with ourselves. That also probably means they aren't manufacturing very many because they know not many people will buy it at $1,500. And so they have a limited run. These things will sell out instantaneously. When they sell out, you're going to have scalpers then taking them and selling them on eBay and Facebook Marketplace and everywhere else for thousands upon thousands of dollars. And pretty much nobody except scalpers are probably going to have these things for the first like 6 months to a year. Just being real, just being honest. And because PlayStation will know that and will be aware that, hey, scalpers don't buy games for their consoles because they're not using the consoles, they're flipping them. It probably means that they also don't really want a launch title that is a big budget item that is fully exclusive to that platform. So I think it's going to be full cross-gen for like a year and a half, 2 years. It begs the question, why are we even launching the next gen in 2027? If every game is going to come out on both platforms, you're not going to have a true next generation exclusive or something. I don't know. I feel like I am missing a massive piece of this puzzle. And if somebody in chat has it, please let me know, because I do not understand. If this means that the next gen consoles launch at like 1,500, crazy to say, but if it means they launch at 1,500 and they're going to have to do cross-generational stuff for every game because they don't want to like sell their massive $200 million exclusive game, to 1,500 players like that were able to buy it. I don't understand why they don't just wait another year. I don't understand. The one piece of this that was interesting. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can find. Basically, the story was, I believe it was Valve with relation to the Steam machine. They went to memory manufacturers and basically said, hey, we want to buy a bunch of RAM for our Steam machines and for our hardware. And if they were quoted a certain price from the memory manufacturers, and then Steam or Valve or whoever kind of scoffed at it and said, that won't do. It needs to be lower. What if we do this volume? What if we, like, if they tried to negotiate at all, the manufacturers would not engage with them anymore. They would just like scoff and then ignore their emails and stop responding, because they know they don't really need to do business with Valve. They'll just go to Meta and go to Google and go to Microsoft, and they will pay them however many billions to continue doing it and paying crazy high prices for the RAM because they can afford it, you know? So maybe there's an aspect of that where like Sony doesn't want to rock the boat and has contractual limitations or commitments to manufacture X number of consoles by late 2027. So they're like, we might as well sell it or something. Or maybe that's what it is. Was it in a Gamer Nexus video? Okay. That could be it too. That could be it too. I think also, I mean, Lenovo has also mentioned this. They warn high memory prices are, quote, the new normal through 2030, as DRAM and NAND may never return to early 2025 levels, just because the game has changed, man. The game was rigged from the start. And they outlined why they expect this to be the case and that it's just the new normal. Furthermore, Micron announced that they have locked in historically high memory prices for 5 years. Big buyers agreed to deals that will deliver historically enormous margins and profits to Micron specifically. If you've not seen a chart that will make you super depressed, let me show you. You might think that this is an estimated trajectory for a rocket ship, and that I think would be fair to conclude. You can see 2024, 2025, kind of back down. Okay, right around like fall of 25, as the RAM crisis starts to hit, this number starts to go up a lot. Oh, what's this? Oh my God. This is the stock price chart for Micron. The guys that just locked in historically high prices for all of the memory that they manufacture for the next 5 years or so. SanDisk is another one. Yeah, dude. SanDisk Corp. 5 years. Yeah. And it's basically just because there's no one else really competing in this space. Like, there's only so many places in the world that can manufacture this stuff, and they're all being used by Meta, Microsoft, NVIDIA. Like, there's just only so much you can do. And that's just where we are until more supply comes in. Now, the only way I think that this could adjust back down within like 2 years is what we've seen is like investors. They have primarily been punishing companies that are continuing to spend crazy amounts of money on infrastructure buildouts for AI stuff because they've not seen returns for it. So like Microsoft announced they're spending another $75-80 billion on stuff. Their stock price drops by like 4%. Like, investors are not happy that they continue to spend this much. The problem is you're spending it, but if they spend like the $80 billion, that's for like contracts and commitments for the next like 6 months, year, 2 years, whatever, as they build out the data centers. And that's the supply. Like, so even if they're like, okay, no more spending, you won't see the supply loosen until they're done with those orders and commitments that they have. Because again, there's only so many places in the world that can manufacture this stuff. So there just is no easy solution. There was some reporting previously that there was going to be a way for basically orders to be canceled from like OpenAI, and that would then alleviate pressure. But what's since come out is that reporting was not accurate. And in fact, a lot of these commitments have been tied up for very, very long periods of time. Because basically Micron, they are like, they kind of, them, SanDisk, a couple of other smaller ones, they kind of are like the kings at the table. They dictate what the conversation's going to be. And companies like Apple, like Microsoft, like NVIDIA, they don't have the choice of working with other people. They have to go along with it. And so if they say, no, you're going to pay us this insane price and we're going to lock in that price for 5 years. If they say no, They just got their supply slashed, and now their company is imploding because they put all of their chips in this whatever square space. I don't know. Like, they're screwed. They're screwed. Yeah, Samsung is the other one, makes up like 75% of the DRAM supply. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, have I seen the Gamers Nexus video on the DRAM cartel? Says Fire. Hold on, it clipped your name off. Firechild, thank you for that. Very generous 20. Yeah, well, and this is, so interestingly enough, I think this just happened today. If anybody has not seen the Gamers Nexus video on the DRAM cartel, I mean, they've covered a lot of this stuff with like discussions of the companies like Micron and how they do this. But there was just this morning a lawsuit filed against a lot of these DRAM manufacturers, against a lot of these companies, basically accusing them of operating as basically like a monopoly or an oligopoly, I guess it would be, but operating as sort of a cartel, working together, collaborating together to collectively negotiate up these limited prices and capped deals to drive the cost of all of this up. But even that is like, okay, they file a lawsuit. It's going to take 4 years to get through the courts. And even if they find that, yes, they did collude together and they did like work together, which I think they definitely did, allegedly. Even if they find that that's the case, it will still be in years, well outside of this. You know, it just is what it is. Now, I've seen some people in the comment section being like, we should stand up and demand that this isn't going to happen. So stop buying stuff. You know, the problem is, though, that most of this spending that's causing this is not like the people buying a Steam machine. Okay. I think it's priced crazily, as I'm sure even the people that buy it agree. But like, buying a Steam machine is not driving up the cost of RAM. Spending $80 billion on server farms in the middle of a desert somewhere, that is what's driving up the cost. And that is something that we just have no control over. Like, this is why I say it just sucks, and there is no happy way to spin it, because there's just like literally nothing you can do. Like, there just is nothing. The market will correct itself. I agree, eventually it will. I do agree that in like 3 years, 4 years, most likely the efficiency of like LLMs, the efficiency of most of these neural networks and the training algorithms and stuff that are used for them will all be greatly improved. And you will likely not need the infrastructure that they will have built out by that point in the same way. And then you'll see stock prices adjust and crash, and some companies will go away. Others will get, you know, blown up and do amazingly well. But we're still talking about like 3 to 4 year timelines for full corrections and adjustments to take place. And that's why it just sucks, because again, we're looking at it through the lens of gamers and like consumer electronics and stuff. And in that capacity, in that regard, it just is what it's going to be for the next handful of years, because the timelines we're talking about are enterprise timelines. The enterprise orders where they made a commitment through the end of 2027 for this much RAM for a data center that's being built right now, that's not done until spring of 2028. And so all of these orders have to be fulfilled, and it just kind of sucks, you know? It just kind of sucks. I don't know what what else there is to say about it. I mean, it just sucks. What it probably realistically means is that gamers just need to be more flexible, entertain like used hardware for sure. I think that will help a lot. But the easiest and clearest thing for companies like PlayStation is to just make it clear, like, we're not, people are not going to be able to buy a $1,500 PlayStation 6. They're not going to be able to buy a $2,000 Xbox, whatever. That just doesn't work. Like, yes, you'll have some big streamers or YouTubers or whales and people that have like expendable income be able to do it. Sure. That's always been the case though. But those people do not make up the vast majority of spenders and of consumers in the industry that are buying up games and building out the industry. And so, you know, keeping a few whales happy with a high priced machine is not going to be enough to keep it afloat. You know, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. What if it's not done till 2035? They'll have an excuse to delay Fallout 5 even further. No, I think, as we've seen, like, don't mistake the very real reality that like Unreal Engine 6 has been described by a lot of the presentations that they've done on it as an engine that's all about scalability. So they want you to be able to use Unreal Engine 6 to like go and this is technically Unreal Engine 5, but they want you to be able to build out these environments, and then the engine will scale it down to whatever platform, whether you want it playing on a mobile handheld, if you want to play it on a massive gaming PC or a console, whatever. They're trying to build games where it scales, because I think they know that high-end electronics are going to be far less common than they have been previously. Like, it used to be, you talk to somebody and like, they, back in the day, they had a 970. I knew people when I worked at Best Buy who had 970s when they launched the 10 series. I knew people that had like a 1080, a lot of people that had the 1080. Nowadays, I think it's going to be way more rare for casual gamers to have like a 5080 or to have certainly a 5090. You know, those things are going to be reserved for the people that are like professionals in the space, the people that like play games for their job. They can afford it and at least justify it. But I think that the age of regular people, at least who are responsible with their money, having the highest end gaming hardware, unfortunately, that's just going to be really, really hard to swing for a long time, because those GPUs are going to go from like 700, which somebody could save up for, maybe a big birthday treat or Christmas treat to themselves. They could justify that. But I think once you get to the realm where like those graphics cards are now like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, that doesn't work so well. You know, that doesn't happen. You know, what are you going to do? And don't actually own hardware. I mean, this is the happy coincidence for a lot of these companies like Nvidia, like Microsoft. They are trying to push people into cloud gaming anyways, because selling you hardware, they get your money once. If they get you signed up for GeForce Now, you use their data centers that they just spent all that money building, and they get monthly revenue from you. They get $20 a month or whatever, and they're happy about it. You know, so I think that that's going to be the big push, certainly, is probably a lot more cloud streaming. You notice also in that article where Sony describes this, what is like the first thing they say? People are asking about pricing of next-gen hardware, implying it's like you might have to take a loss on it in order to get people to buy it. What is the first thing the executive brought up? What is the very, very first thing? First, we regard hardware as the base for providing the gaming experience. And by offering products such as the PlayStation Portal Remote Player, the cloud gaming handheld that they have, which now allows you to play direct from the PlayStation Now cloud, whatever they call it. Like, the first thing they brought up was the cloud gaming handheld thing. Yes, you can stream from your console to it. Yes, if you have a console. But maybe for the PlayStation 6, one of the big things is like, yeah, you can buy the console. It's going to be $1,500. Or you can buy the handheld and stream it from our servers, and that's only $400. You're welcome. Like, I think that's probably what they're going to do. It's same energy as like, we have something for them. It's called the 360. Yeah, it'll be like, what about people who can't afford $35,000 for a gaming console? Oh, well, we have something for them. It's called the PlayStation Portal, and you can stream it from the cloud. Like, I think that's what it's going to be. Yeah, $35 a month for that. Easy peasy, nice and squeezy. Like, I think that's what it's going to be. I think that's what they're doing. But this is why, again, it's so crucial to have healthy competition, because I swear to God, if Asha could come in and offer like an aggressively priced piece of hardware and they're not pushing the same stuff, it could actually be an interesting game of putting Sony in their place as they're pushing that way. But I don't know if that's what's going to work. I mean, it doesn't seem like the energy and vibes are doing enough for Xbox. Yeah, average price of games hardware is up 14% compared to a year ago. Xbox hits worst US sales month on record. PlayStation 5 drops 58% as hardware prices soar. Yep. People keep asking, they're like, when do you think we see the market crash? This is what a crash is like. You are literally in it. One of the fascinating things is that people don't realize they're living through a historical moment until it's past. I'm telling you right now, this is that crash. Okay? Like, this is what it looks like. Prices doubling or tripling it. You're seeing what were previously considered to be like really reliable, safe bets flopping catastrophically. Like, this is what that looks like. And as with every crash, there are major corrections, and there are going to be winners and losers, and there's going to be some that do not survive and others that emerge out of it and grow stronger and better than ever. Nowadays we talk about like the main players in the gaming space being like Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. Back in the day, I mean, the lineups looked a lot different. Like, of course, so the initial gaming crash, of course, happened in like 1980. It was the mid 80s, but 83 is what's usually attributed to it. But as you can see from here, you had things like Atari, of course, Nintendo. They ended up being one of the winners. Sega, the Turbo Graphics. Ooh, baby. Look at that. Look at that. They're just making up their own spelling. Why not? Turbo Graphics. Hell yeah. Look at that. That's baller, dude. Turbo Graphics. A lot of these didn't survive. They didn't make it through the crash. You know, they didn't make it. But there were some that emerged and ended up becoming huge, and others, you know, pushed through and then end up being like changing. You know, of course, like Atari is still technically a thing, and Nintendo obviously still thinks. Sega is still definitely a thing, obviously, but their role in the industry shifted and changed. And that's what I think is going to happen here, is that things will just be different. Things will change. But I do think that new winners will emerge and new players will emerge. Some that you probably haven't even heard of at this point will come out and be like, in 10 years, we'll look back, oh yeah, they didn't really pop out until X company imploded and then, you know, they took over. I think that that's what's happening. But for people wondering, like, when is the crash coming? I'm telling you, we've been in the AAA gaming crash for the last couple of years, few years really. That's already been happening because it's just unsustainable. You can't have $200-300 million budgets. That just doesn't work. But now I think, especially with hardware, you're going to see a lot of pressure on the platform holders. I think the real winner is, I'm going to be honest, I think the real winner is going to be Steam. I think PC is going to be the real winner here. Because PlayStation still requires you to buy a console. $1,500 console for most people is a non-starter. Like, I don't think that works. Nintendo, I think, will be fine. They've been able to navigate stuff pretty well. Even if they have to raise the Switch 2 price, I think that they're in their own bubble enough that they'll be able to handle it. The Ouya makes a comeback, yeah. Play those games on the television. That's what you need to do. But I think when in doubt, people will go and realize gaming hardware is crazy expensive. And PC hardware is also very expensive, but the PC market has a massive, massive secondary marketplace. And the games on PC are built for scalability. So even if you're not running with a 5090, you can be running with a GPU that's 5 years old and still play a lot of modern games just on lower settings, you know? I think that is where a lot of gamers will start to shift. And usually the shift happens at the start of the next generation, because what it does is it primes everybody for that choice. You remember the South Park episode, the like Game of Thrones, the Black Friday Bandaru? That one? Yeah, this 2013. This whole episode, and the whole premise was that they were trying to determine which way they went, whether they went with the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One. And it started a whole war between them trying to figure out which way they would go. That's usually what happens at the start of a generation, is you got to pick which way you're going to go. And I think that's what's going to happen. If they really are so full of themselves and they think people will spend $1,500 on a console, they'll launch it next fall. And we'll see how that goes, man. We'll see how that goes. I mean, maybe I'm naive. Maybe there are people out there, like way more people than I think, that are willing to spend $1,500 on a console. I would just be surprised, but maybe there's something they know that I don't. Maybe they have like a really robust trade-in program. Maybe that's the secret sauce. Maybe it's like, yes, it's $1,500, or you can trade in your PS5 and we will give you $700 of credit. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the secret sauce. And then they take that, refurbish it, and then sell that through their platform as well. And it plays all the new games as well. It's just you can buy a refurbished one. Maybe that's what they're doing. Get a refurbished PS5 for $700. Maybe that's their brilliant plan. I don't know. But the fact that even with all this stuff, they are still apparently insisting that they are going through with the late 2027 launch. That's crazy. Or maybe this is the piece we're missing. Allow me to present option C. Maybe it's just simply that they expect prices to skyrocket again in 2028 so much that waiting to 2028 would also not make sense because they expect prices to double again. So it's launch it at 1,500 in 27 or launch it at 2,000 in 28. Maybe that's what they're worried about. I don't know. Luke, the RAM in my PC costs as much as the Steam machine. Dude, that's baller. That's baller. Where did the picture go? I shared with you guys. Yeah, here it is. I shared with you guys these pictures because I also was wondering, this isn't even the RAM in my main PC. I haven't even checked that. I should, because I think it'd be interesting. But I bought this RAM. In January 14, 2025. It was for my gaming laptop, okay? I had like 16 gigs. I was like, I'm going to upgrade it to 64. So these are the little DIMMs for laptop memory, okay? I bought in January of 2025. My grand total was $186. The price of the RAM was $174.99. I checked this was what? Let me see. I posted this picture May 27th. So it's probably even more now. But May 27th, when I checked again, that exact same SKU, $717 for 64 gigs of laptop memory. I should have downloaded it. Exactly. Yeah. It turns out I was a mark. I bought it. Yeah. Oops. What are you going to do? And look who made it. Look who made it. Micron. There you go. There you go. Yeah. So I don't even know what memory I have now. Should I try to find out? Let's see, hold on. Let me get the flashlight. We'll do it live. DDR5, 128 gigabyte, expert white. This looks, oh my God, no way this is accurate. There is no way this is right. This is Micro Center. I want to preface this. I did not pay this. I don't remember exactly when I bought all these components, but I did not pay this. I could literally sell the RAM in my PC and buy a car. That's how much it's gone up. Like what? I had no idea it was that much. Like, I need to get locks on the doors. Man, like, Jesus Christ. What did I pay? I recall it. I mean, it was a 128 gig pack. I wonder if I could find the receipt. I think it was, I bought it in store in person. And I think it was like 400, 500 maybe. Man, Micro Center receipt. Man, that's insane. That is absolutely insane. Is this it? Did I find it? $419. I paid $419. It literally just 10x'd. That's insane, dude. That's outrageous. That breaks my brain. SSD prices are skyrocketing too, by the way. That's I can't believe that. That broke my brain, man. I'm actually like stunned. I'm actually stunned. Wow. At least there's a limit of 2 per household. At least there's that. Jesus Christ, man. That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. So anyway, yeah, and this is why the extra bit of it that just is really tricky, because people will come in chat be like, do you think I should buy a gaming PC now? Do you think I should buy a hardware? I remember telling somebody like 3 months ago, I was like, if you need to buy a gaming PC, probably do it now because it's only going to get worse. And dude, literally in that time period, that's probably doubled in price. Because at 2,000, we would have looked at that and been like, that's insane. Now it's 4,000, and it's like, there's not even, like, there's no words for what that is. That's unbelievable. Like, this PC is probably at this point, it's appreciated more than my stock portfolio. I'll tell you what, on a percentage basis, my God. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Take care of your hardware, folks. Take care of your hardware. Do system updates, dust it, you know, take care of it. My God. Oh my God. Only if you sell Luke. Yeah, exactly. That's the key. That's the key. Yeah, you can sell it, but then what are you going to replace it with? That's the tricky bit. Anyway, so yeah, the story, moral of the story is everything sucks and it's terrible and we should all just be sad. Okay? Okay. But at least you can type something into Google and it'll give you an AI answer that's usually only a little wrong. So at least we have that.